Welcome to part 5 of my demonstration of creating a Revit model of Santiago Calatrava's railway station roof in Lisbon. So here we have our structural element that represents one column and some roof panels. We need a base to support the steel structure. So the first thing to do is to set the work plane to be the horizontal reference plane of the adaptive point, and then we can create a polygon, make that 4 sides, and actually just make that a reference polygon. Set out from the center point there and set that to be 45 degrees. And what we can do is make these dimensions here real dimensions, and then select one of those. In fact, we can select all of them and apply a label. And I think we have one here called half base. So we apply that, and that makes it parametric. So select those 4 reference lines, create form, and there we go. It seems to have made that go down instead of up, but that's okay. So now we have a temporary dimension that it's created, so we can click on that, turn that into a real dimension. We've got one here called base height, and there's a little allowance there for some joint, but we're not going to make that at the moment. So there we have our component ready to go. So we will load that into project, which we've already created, that represents a railway station with a bunch of platforms. And okay, so here are the platforms. Now we need to have a base pattern for this component to fit on. Initially, we don't want to place one just yet, so I'm going to select a mass family that I've created earlier on, which basically just represents a rectangle. So edit family, and we have a chain of 4 lines, and we're going to turn that into a form. And it goes a little too high, so we drag the top down until it's flush with the tip of one of these railway platforms. Select the top surface of that and divide surface. So that creates a grid pattern on there. We actually want 1 grid per platform, so we change the number of divisions to be 3 and 9, which in this case should give us a square pattern. Now we want to be able to attach our structural component onto this grid, so we have to go to the surface representation and turn on the nodes, another one of Revit's hidden commands. So now we have a grid that we can snap some nodes to, so let's create a component, and we can place this family onto any one of the nodes. Seems to be a little slow to okay, so we just snap to a node, doesn't matter which one, and it's trying to put more, so escape to get out of that. Escape. Then we select the one that we've placed, and we go up to the repeat command, and this will repeat that structural component across the whole grid with any luck. It can be a little slow to do that, but it's well worth the wait when you see what it's done. So there we have our structural grid pattern, and it's probably easier to look at that in another view, which has already been set up from eye level. And we have a not exactly right structure, but it's getting close. I think we need to change some of the parameters. So I will bring my project browser on screen and go and look for some of these generic models. And I think we need to change probably the arc offset needs to be considerably more than it is, so we'll probably double that and apply that and see what happens. Okay, so the arch shape is looking a bit better, but there's something very wrong with the top of the structure, and I think the issue is that the radius of our rig circle is wrong. This should actually be half of the distance between each column, which in this case I put at 8 meters. Whether that's realistic or not, I am not sure because I haven't checked how big the train tracks are. Now we have the overall structural size correct. There's still something not quite right with the number of struts in the structure is probably too low, so let's bump that up to say 7 and see how that looks. Okay, so now we have a number of struts looking a little more accurate. There's still something a little wrong with the spacing of the struts from the end, but that's not a big deal at this stage. We could go back and fix the family. Let's have a look at another view and see how that's looking. So there you have it, parametric version of Santiago Calatrava's beautiful railway station roof in Lisbon in Revit.